Was your
Let's talk about the attempt, anyway, by Donald Trump's team to get this moved out of New York to federal court, rejected pretty resoundingly here. Was there any case to be made that this should be moved?
Not a strong case, although, in fairness, when you have a new Supreme Court decision, you can always make your filings because we talk about precedent. The immunity decision that provided a never-before-extant idea that certain official acts couldn't be prosecuted even after you leave office is a new ruling. So they have every right to file it. Trump folks lost. And again, you don't need a lot of legal training to understand the pitch. They were arguing that if you paid off someone like, say, Stormy Daniels through your lawyer who was later convicted for it, maybe somehow that was an official act of the president. Whatever official acts are, it ain't that.
So let's talk about his. He's also trying to get the E. Jean Carroll settlement tossed out using the same sort of immunity ruling from the Supreme Court. Is there any merit there?
No. I mean, both of these convictions, and one is, I want to stress, civil, and the other in the New York case on the money payments to Daniels through Cohen was criminal. But both of these findings were for underlying conduct, as the lawyers say, before Donald Trump became president.
Right.
Okay, it's interesting. Yeah, Mika?
How much is it costing to constantly create these delays? I mean, in attorney's fees or whatever else?
Well, Donald Trump's spending millions and millions of dollars, and the delay strategy has been the core thing. We have been normalized to so many things, but it's not normal to have someone running for president who is both a convict in one state and still awaits federal trial, at least in the coup case in D.C., even if it was slightly narrowed by the Supreme Court. And so they've spent many millions. He's raised money and then taken money from his own donors, which is legal, to fund all of this. But the main strategy has not been, as we all know, to win these cases outright. It has been to try to delay, obfuscate, confuse, and then he hopes if he wins the presidency, many of these cases, the federal ones at least, would likely be lawfully dropped.
So Ari, since the Beat is not only a place where cigarette lighters are passed off as merch,
start a campfire.
It's also a place where the law meets politics.
Sure.
And it's the one thing that we have learned, and Donald Trump alluded to it a couple of days ago, and he's right. When Donald Trump is in court, his poll numbers go up. And I find it curious, if you're Judge Merchan, the last thing you're going to want to do is help Donald Trump in any way, I would guess. Like you don't want to help somebody that's committed a crime. You don't want to do something that somehow is going to help him down the road wipe the slate clean. So obviously he's got to stay focused on the law and not politics. But I just wonder, I mean, it all goes together. How does the judge respond to this? What's the possibility of a delay until after the election? What's the possibility that maybe he gives him a lighter sentence because he doesn't want Donald Trump to play martyr? What are your thoughts? What have your guests' thoughts been on this issue?
Yeah, it's a great question. You said, will he give him a lighter sentence, or not unlike the lighter I gave Willie?
Yeah,
I felt we had to come back. Double entendre. So
we're doing the weave here.
Yeah,
that's the weave. Yes, exactly.
Yeah. It happens naturally.
We feel so square now. We're just,
Joe. I'll give you the honest. My honest answer is something you know well about from all your extensive experience. You can learn the law, have a law degree when you're in Congress, as you were. You're dealing with laws constantly, and yet know there's reality in politics outside the courtroom. Everybody gets that,
right.
And so I think the answer is, if you were doing this strictly legally by the book and literally saying it doesn't matter that the person's a candidate, then you would go ahead perhaps with the sentencing on time. I think that is increasingly unlikely. I don't make predictions, but the combination of the Supreme Court case, which does give you a kind of a reason to say, hey, we need more time for the filings, et cetera, and even if it doesn't dismiss it, as I just mentioned, it doesn't dismiss the whole conviction, but you might say there's more time needed. And the proximity of the election means that I don't think it's out of bounds that you could see this further delay the New York sentencing. And I remind people, in these kind of cases, it often, majority of these cases don't necessarily get jail time anyway. And so, yes, Merchan, this judge in New York, might look at all of the equities, as the lawyers say, and go, Do you really need to be seen as jumping into this and timing this weeks out from the general election?
I mean, it's so fascinating. And it's the thing about politics, you never know how things are going to break in politics. I've always said, my favorite saying came from Illinois Senator Paul Simon, who said, in politics, sometimes when you win, you lose. And sometimes when you lose, you ultimately win. And here, it's just like when we see Jack Smith's name in the press. When I see Jack Smith's name in the press now, I'm like, really? You couldn't have waited to file that until after the election? It's just, we're so close to the election. It's going to be fascinating how these judges handle it.
Yeah. No, I think it's fascinating, and I think the political side, and you were just discussing in the previous segment about how, was Joe Biden's approval low, or did people just not want him to run again? And suddenly, without that question, which is technically different from approval, his administration, his policies look perhaps higher approval according to the country.
Right.
And likewise with Donald Trump, he has many legal problems that people can assess and care about, but the word is out on them. I mean, people have followed these trials. They've gotten a lot of attention in the news and pop culture. There's a reason why there are many late-night punchlines about Donald Trump's legal problems. And so as you get into the general election, do the Democrats, as a political question also, do they want to be still hitting that message again? Or have they found more enthusiasm by starting a new conversation about their nominee and their enthusiasm?
Right. Yep.
Or you have Judge Juan Merchan saying, you're the one who delayed this to the point where it's close to the election, and I'm not going to be pushed around anymore. So
yeah, and there is a strong counter-argument there, yeah.